Hey guys, today I'm going to be reviewing the book The Dark Intercept by Julia Keller. It is a young adult science fiction book that I got from a subscription service. This book has actually been sitting on my bedside table for a few months now as I got a bunch of stuff that all piled up at once. This book, it's set in a world where there is Old Earth and New Earth. Old Earth got ruined with chemicals and strip mining and radiation and just all this awful stuff. New Earth is like a big island that floats above Old Earth, and basically all the rich people or the upper crust of society got moved up there where everything's pretty much perfect. And everyone else, they're stuck with not running water and dilapidated stuff, and it's just like, think third world country, but worse. The main protagonist, Violet, lives with her father. Her father's the president, and she goes every day to a building where the Intercept is housed. What's the Intercept? Well, the Intercept is a chip that's in everybody's, like the crook of their left arm. It's like a crescent moon shaped, and it records your memories, it records your emotions, and it files them away. We only see love, fear, and anger being used by the Intercept, but Violet says many times that the other emotions end up being stored away for future use. What do I mean by that? Well, basically, it's a machine that weaponizes your emotions. If a citizen of New Earth is going to be attacked, and if there's going to be lethal damage caused, somebody who works in Intercept Hall, like Violet and her partner Rez, they tell the Intercept to flood the attacker's brain with the worst memory they've ever experienced, to incapacitate them so the person who would be attacked can get away. It's a terrifying concept that Violet absolutely hates, but it's a job that her dad got her, and she works there because sometimes you don't get to pick your job. Violet is 16 years old. Yes, she is 16 years old, and she is the one responsible for determining when someone gets attacked by their own emotions. It's a young adult science fiction book, so some of the logic can be excused. Most of the time, science fiction needs to make sense, but when you're trying to write a book that's relevant to teenagers, you have to let them do cool things, even if an adult might say, no, this is not something a teenager should be in charge of. Violet has a crush. She has a crush on one of the police officers of New Earth. But her partner also has a crush on her, and it's a big old mess, but it's kind of a sweet and charming mess. The only thing keeping her from being with her crush is that her crush has a secret. Danny is his name, and he keeps going down to Old Earth, even though his boss, the chief of police, Callahan, keeps telling him, yo, you can't do that. You didn't have an official reason to be down there. And Violet loves him, but she doesn't want to be with him unless she figures out what the secret is. Most refreshingly, Danny doesn't want to be with her until he can tell her what the secret is. And given what the secret is, it's really, really, really good that Danny wants to wait, because a relationship based on false pretenses is not a good relationship at all. That's one of the morals of the story that warmed my heart to see. The main crux of this story is twofold. The first is that Violet really wants to know, what is Danny's secret? What is he doing going down to Old Earth? And why won't they just get together? Why can't they fall in love and be a couple? The other is, at the beginning of the book, Violet is told that she's going to have to go through an initiation. When you work for the Intercept and you are using people's emotions to attack them in order to keep the peace, it is only fair that once in your life you undergo the process that you're inflicting on other people. As soon as Violet goes through the process, she realizes that this method of keeping the peace is entirely unfair. If someone is actually going to kill somebody, maybe. But a lot of the times that it gets used, it's just somebody coming up to rob somebody, or it's a mild offense that she doesn't feel they should re-experience their worst fear or the worst moment of their life over and over and over again. And as she realizes this, she has to grapple with okay, how can I get my dad to turn off the Intercept? How can I get the world to understand that, hey, this should not be a thing? Along the way, this other organization pops up called I believe it's the Enemy of Light. Anyway, it's a group of people that they also feel the same way, but their methods are not nearly as ethical, not nearly as legal as what Violet is thinking. So she's got to help the chief of police figure out who these people are and stop them because at the moment the Intercept is needed to keep the peace. There is only one moment in the book that made me say, what on earth? That is not logically consistent. And it's even more illogical than having a 16-year-old run the process of inflicting people's emotions back on them. And the only reason that is there's a checklist that you have to follow, is somebody in danger? Is there a method of escape? And is the person being attacked a citizen of New Earth? Okay, give a teenager a checklist. They can do it. Also, they have a partner, and if two people say, oh yeah, the criteria are met, sure, fine, I'll trust a teenager with that. But Violet really wants to go down to Old Earth to see what it was like, because her mom, who was a doctor, ended up going down there an awful lot. Well, at some point in the story, she sneaks down there, and bad things happen. Because, come on, she's an innocent little 16-year-old who's not taken so much of the Taekwondo lesson, and the people down there are living and breathing embodiments of struggle and survival who know how to fight. Anyway, she gets in trouble, and she gets saved. She goes and finds this thing that she's looking for. And all of a sudden, she gets a call from her best friend that, yo, I need you to come. Something's happened. And she's able to run from where she's at back to the shuttle that took her from New Earth to Old Earth. And you want to tell me that a shuttle from heaven to hell arrives and nobody tries to steal the shuttle to get back up to basically heaven? No one jumps in and presses a button? Because that's all Violet had to do to get from New Earth to Old Earth, is press a button and whoosh, down she goes. And it's implied that all she has to do is press a button and whoosh, back up she goes. They saw her come down. They saw her land. Nobody thought to steal the shuttle? It's just glossed completely over. And it doesn't ruin the story. It doesn't make it less enjoyable, but it's Julia, why? That moment aside, I give the story, I give it a 3 out of 5. Here's why. I'm all about trigger warnings, because if you're going to enjoy something, I want you to enjoy it. And if you have a sensitivity to certain things, I want you to be aware that it's coming. The worst day of somebody's life is rarely PG. Rarely is it PG-13. In the 3 times that we see the Intercept deployed, 4 times, one of them is a child death, one of them is a baby death, One of them is a mother dying. And the other is the reminder of a happy time, and then when the person comes out of it, they feel awful because that happy time can never return. There's this thing called Mississippi fever in the book that kills the 3 people I'm referring to, and it's just not a fun time. It's really graphic. Julia does a good job of trying not to make it graphic, but it's just heartbreaking, especially the baby one. I'm going to go ahead and give you the page number if you want to read this book. We see what happens with the baby on page 240. The person that memory is attached to is a very old, very delicate individual. Not a main character, it's a side character. You only see her in this chapter. She is a very old woman that this memory has obviously triggered traumatically. You see her reaction to it on page 243. If you want to read this book, just know that they get the information they need and they leave. It's chapter 28. You can skip it and you'll be just fine. So with that, and with all things considered, I give this book 3 out of 5 stars. I recommend it if you are a teenager or if you're an adult. If you're under the age of 12, I really would not. If you're about Violet's age, it's just about fine. Thank you for listening to another one of my reviews, guys. I hope to see you next time. Bye.